sounds on my end, doesn't sound on your end. And that annoys me. I even did a test earlier, and this is all to say that I'm stalling because Caleb's not here yet. And I want to make sure I gave him time because apparently the code didn't get to him. It didn't send this time, which is annoying. But anyways, Happy New Year, everyone. Welcome to the new year of, well, everything we got going on. Let me just check this real quick. All right, so it sounds okay, at least right now. Maybe I need to adjust it later. We'll find out. Always an adventure here. So I figured why not, while Caleb's getting set, because like I said, he was having some issues. Apparently, the invite for our streaming didn't get to him, and that annoys me. So you should get to know me, I guess, a little bit about what we're going to be doing this month. Usually we save this for the end of the stream, but I figured why not do it at the beginning? A little housekeeping. So we are excited to say that this month we have a lot of cool things, at least in my opinion are cool, planned. We are going to be doing our Mondays. We have our next and final part of the Joy podcast on Monday. And then we'll be starting a new series on the Cosmic Mountain. I am very excited about that. That's going to be really cool. And then we're going to be there for a little while. Tuesdays, we'll be doing another Bible study. Caleb and I realized we're doing 3 Bible studies, I guess, on this channel. That'll be Bible study number 3, where we are going to be doing an interactive one with you guys, exploring the Exodus and its parallels with Matthew. Now, we could do this kind of parallel for the entirety of the Bible, but it seemed best to just kind of stay small for now, so that way we don't stay here forever and get caught up in that. So welcome. We're just giving some housekeeping updates while Caleb is arriving, so I don't get too far without him. And so that's what we're doing on Tuesdays. On those streams, we will be doing a comparison of Exodus and Matthew for at least the next month. And if you guys are enjoying that, then we'll keep doing it. I think our goal is to be able to get through the entirety of the 2 books, as much as the parallels are provided. And it's going to be an interactive one. So you guys actually get to join in with us. So bring your Bibles, bring your stuff with you, bring your software. We're going to study this together and have a blast. And then on Wednesdays, we'll be continuing our Chaos Monster series still. We just did our Exodus video. I decided to condense that into one video instead of doing a bunch of videos. And we will be going into the history books. I put air quotes in history because that's as a modern description of what we have for them, but it's not the original description. They would be more under the wisdom and prophetic literature. Uh-oh. Ready for this? Hey, Caleb.
So it is not here.
Ooh. You're on live.
I am aware.
All right. See Elliot. 129 at called to defend.org. All right, try that again. See if it came in this time.
What a way to ring in the new year.
I know. I was just giving everyone an update on what this next month is going to look like. Well, in my case, it's just stalling.
Loading.
Did you get it?
Oh. Hang on. No, I am not Joshua Davis. Yes, I got it.
Okay, I'm going to hang up. I'm going to go back to updating. So that'll be our Wednesdays. We'll be doing the next, which will be technically in the prophetic-ish, what we call historical books today. Then on Thursdays, we'll be doing this, where we are not joining Nick Fuentes and everyone else in bashing Jewish people. We are just looking at Judaism and its comments regarding Christianity from a religious standpoint, and whether or not the back and forth language or discourse that's being had of Jesus being the Messiah is whether he is or isn't the Messiah according to the very text that we both claim to be following. And then
What
Friday,
did I just join to?
I phrased it perfectly just for you when you walked in. I was only going to phrase it that way if you were going to come in.
Oh my goodness, dude, that was awful.
So no, we will be doing Jewish apologetics. Sorry, apologetics from Jewish claims and 2 polemic episodes regarding Judaism. And then on Friday, we're just doing something new. We're testing the waters. See if you guys find this interesting. I know you and I found this interesting. It's going to be right now a short series for at least this month, and we'll see if it continues on, regarding the historical background or the cultural context of different books of the Bible. In this case, we are doing First Timothy, Second Timothy. I can't remember. Did you do those in one video or
2 different ones?
Those are 2 different videos. We also have 2 videos coming up for First and Second Peter, and then we will have something for, I think it was Titus or Philemon. I can't remember, honestly. I know when they come in for me to edit. All is I researched mine, and I'll be recording them tonight or tomorrow, and they'll both be done before the end of the week, which would be great.
Yeah.
So that's everything we got coming up. We're also going to be revamping our social media page, where that is not going to be dead anymore because it just kind of died off, and it's going to be back alive again. So you'll be getting a little more stuff on there, some other stuff you won't be getting here. And so I encourage you guys to go check those out. Caleb's eating Moe's. It is his turn to eat the Southwest Grill food instead of me eating my burrito. But Caleb, welcome to the new year of Call to Defend.
That's why I had to poop before I came on stream. The burrito hit hard, dude.
And man, the other cool thing is in, I believe, 2 to 3 months, I can't remember, I have to pull up our official first upload, will be the 3rd year anniversary of Call to Defend. And it's been a fun ride, starting off very unorganized to being a little less organized to we're getting there. And we went from having a team of 3 to a team of me to a team of 2, and it's a fun ride. And maybe Lord willing, we'll get to expand that team, hopefully in an editorial standpoint. That'll always be nice. But yeah, 2026, the new year, and we're beginning it, our first stream of the year with, actually the first day of the new year, with listening to a Jewish man tell us why we're wrong. But actually, this video is actually not that bad. I listened to this earlier, like a week or so ago. When I was looking for things, and this one's great timing because it came out a month ago. In fact, in his words, this video came out around the time that Mamdani just got put in office. So it's very, very recent.
Mm-hmm.
And so this one, I picked this one because I thought it'd be a good place to kind of start, a little bit of a softer launch with this kind of conversation instead of the aggressive rabbi, what was it, Sovia something?
Sovia Singer.
Thank you.
I got into a little bit of a debate with a guy on the YouTube comment section, and he cited Tovia Singer as a scholar and an authoritative source, and I was like, my brother, well, I can't say my brother in the Lord because he wasn't, but that is a rough source to go to, and I pointed out like the lies, like the actual lies, right? Not like he was misinformed or he misunderstood, like the active lies that he told, got called out on, and went silent afterward about Isaiah 53 and Psalm 22. So, yeah.
Yeah, we'll do some Tov Tovia, I think it was.
Tovia.
We'll do some of his later. I think the
Sure.
way this maps out is that we're going to be doing 3 more apologetic, and I think we agreed to be more like responding to actual content because that'd be a better way to actually engage. That's the other reason why, like, you and I've talked about this before. We were asked by a couple other channels, like, what are our thoughts on presuppositional apologetics? And I said, look, I kind of use all forms of apologetics depending on the context I'm in. I don't really prefer one over the other because not all conversations are going to call for one more than the other. Or sorry, all are going to call for the exact same approach. And in my opinion, it's, at least for me, it's hard for me to do a presuppositional one if I'm not engaging in an actual dialogue with someone, because otherwise I could be like straw manning anyone or just conflating so many things instead of actually like engaging with the actual person's arguments. So some people find a way to do it. I can't do it in a way that I feel good about. So I prefer doing things like this where we actually can get into something like their actual different thoughts. But this video is kind of cool. We're not gonna do the whole thing. It's an hour and 21 long, hour and 21 minutes. We're not gonna do that. But the reason is so long is that it's a Sean McDowell video, but it functions more as an interview. So McDowell's not really getting into a back and forth as many people are hoping in the comment section. But I know what Sean's format usually is. He usually does he brings you on, he wants to hear your opinions so other people can hear other thoughts circulating, and it gives you time to think and respond instead of you just coming in here to use your brain / turn it off, and you're rooting for the guy that agrees with you most instead of you actually getting to engage with the content. So he provides a platform for people to come on and engage in back and forth. And sometimes they'll have a back and forth. You can see in this video times where he's like, no, that's not right at all. But
Yeah.
But he refrains in some cases.
And I just want to point out, we talked about Tovia Singer a little bit, but like, what other faith does that? Muslims don't do that. Jews don't do that. Hindus, Buddhists. I think it says a lot that Christianity is far and away the faith that's definitely most willing to have open dialogue and to let you present your ideas, even if we fully and wholeheartedly disagree with them. The reason for that is we know that we can defend our position.
Well, I was thinking about this. I was talking to a mutual friend of ours. We were reflecting on another conversation that the three of us had with someone else about like other religious texts or other extra biblical texts from this time period that have been in question but being part of the canon or not, or even ones that just like from pagan religions and stuff. And my point, I was just like, who is like majority of the scholars working on those other texts? They're Christians because they have no discomfort with it. They fully are like completely comfortable with like, this is what it is. And it's funny as how you typically see, at least I remember when Big Bang Theory was a very popular show, like more popular than it is now, because it's still kind of popular, just not as much. But they even like use some of like the quote mining tactics of like, oh, look, this other text says this and this text says. And I was like, yeah, you know what scholars are working on? That's primarily Christians, because they're not uncomfortable with it and they recognize that, hey, this actually proves our point, and 2, this helps us provide more context to understand our texts. So there's nothing to be scared of. You don't need to be throwing this at people like, hey, look, we got you, Christians. Like, no, that's not how that works. Especially when the field is flooded with Christians that are involved in this. But anyways, so this is I couldn't remember how to say his name, and I'm not gonna pretend I'm gonna try to, because it's all written in English instead of Hebrew, and it's modern Hebrew, not ancient Hebrew, which is more my thing. So this is a little bit of back and forth. Sean McDowell plays more of a question asking, and the other guy does some responding. So we won't get through everything. The first bit provides some of the more actual, probably like the core speaking points, because after that it's kind of like rehashing and clarifying some points, but getting to the major contentions are going to be found in the first, like around the first half, of which we won't get through all of it, but it'll give you guys a place to kind of start thinking about some of the things that he'll be talking about. And I remember when I first listened to this, he provided I thought some things I was like, okay, that's an interesting thought. You know, it's an interesting way to look at it. I'd be willing to think with you through that. And there's other times I'm like, I don't understand why you're making this case. Or you just proved that you are presuppositionally biased against any rationality or extra um, response to your claims, and that it must my thing must be true because it is, not because you can actually back it. And you know, Christians do the same thing sometimes, but I just thought it was interesting just to kind of go throughout. Caleb, do you have any other quick thoughts? I don't know if you've seen this video before or not, or if you know what I'm talking about. And he's eating the chip.
Dude, you don't know how I feel about queso. All right. If I could eat queso for 3 meals a day, I would. But no, I should say queso dip because, you know, queso is literally just cheese. But that's neither here nor there. Well, actually, you know what? If I could eat cheese 3 times a day, I would too. But it's neither here nor there. I have not seen this video. I know Sean does a lot of this stuff, which is good. Need more of it. Need that type of discourse to happen where it's just, here's the open ideas. Here's what people believe. All right, now let's address it.
Yeah. I'm glad you haven't, because what I've been trying to do with the reactions to find ones that I've at least had time to go through and just kind of think a little bit about. But then it gives a person of someone who's done a little bit of thinking and a person who has gained like a raw reaction. You get to kind of see some of the little bit of formulated thoughts, and then, oh, I forgot about this, and I get to rethink about this, and then the fresh, brand new look at it at the same time. I kind of liked how we did that with the pagan videos, and I thought that was really helpful.
Yeah.
But let's dive in, Lord willing that the internet does not decide to keel over, as that happened last time I tried to show a video.
Right.
It's great. All right, so Sean McDowell, like I said, this came out about November 25th, so a little over a month ago. It was really interesting. I listened to it. I was at the gym, so I was like 90% engaged initially. Make sure my audio is sharing. Well, actually, here, back up.
I've been swayed by another religion, but
Can you hear it?
Yes.
Okay, good.
I am very confident in my Judaism, whereby I don't think that would happen.
So I want to come back to your story a little bit, but let's talk a little bit about Jesus. Who do you think he was, and why?
Well, as I said, he was certainly Torah observant. He was certainly a quasi-rabbinic figure living in the times of the Second Temple. The divine aspects are not even corroborated by really any contemporary historian or source. I think the first documentation we get is from Paul in around 50 CE. Paul did not know Jesus. So the claims that were added after his life that he was a miracle worker, even if I conceded.
Hold up.
I'll just let him finish
Actually,
the
you know what?
sentence
No.
first.
Actually, let's let him finish the sentence first, and then I'm gonna.
That was true, and he walked on water and he turned water into wine. All of those things could be true. It would still not qualify or quantify him as a messianic figure. In fact, the rabbinic commentators and even the Old Testament, or I should say the Hebrew Bible itself, says just because someone can perform miracles does not mean he is or isn't a messianic figure. And in fact, at the time of the Second Temple, Judaism was really the only religion that had messianic claims. This was not a hallmark of any other religion or any other society. So if Jesus really was the Messiah, we Jews during the times of the Second Temple, we would have been the first ones to believe in him because we really want there to be a Messiah. But he did not fulfill any of the criteria that a Messiah is meant to fulfill, both in his life and certainly afterwards as well.
So let's talk about.
Yeah, just wanted to get all that in there because there's a lot in there, but also it's all tied together.
45-ish seconds, and I think I could probably point out in as many seconds, as many times, or as many things that he got wrong there. Right, so let's start with the Paul didn't know Jesus. By his own testament, Paul knew Jesus. Right, but let's say, okay, so we say, oh, Paul didn't know Jesus, right? Let's grant, for the sake of argument, that Acts 9 is totally made up. Does that negate the fact that Paul spent 3 years in Jerusalem learning under the people who are the closest to Jesus?
Paul even states that he went to go meet with those who walked with him.
Right.
And he says
He li-
in Galatians and I think a few other spots too, where he's like, I went to confer with them about the gospel that I was preaching, about my gospel, like what he believes to be the message. And then he said they did not add to me, and that he spent their time confirming things with them. And then it also mentioned that he was at the council with those who claim to have walked with them. So, which means Paul's affirming that there are people who, even if Paul didn't meet Jesus, if you want to try to throw the whole vision point, which let's say I grant that for now, you still have him confirming with those who have claimed to actually have walked with him and are being hunted down because they walked with him by the government, by the Pharisees and all these people.
Exactly. So, I mean, that claim in itself is problematic, right? Even if we don't count Acts 9. Right now, if we do count Acts 9, then this claim is completely absurd, which obviously we do. Ergo, the claim is completely absurd, right? You are just dismissing his eyewitness testimony because it doesn't fit your narrative. Right? I mean, you're dismissing Luke's account of Paul's testimony simply because you don't want it to be true. Right? I mean, you don't provide an actual evidence-based reason of, well, no, it couldn't have happened because here's the reason. You just say, Paul didn't know him. Well, hang on. Paul very clearly has a vision on the road to Damascus, at least by his own testimony. Right? He talks about that in 1 Corinthians 15, that he appeared to one untimely born. He's talking about himself. Right? And so we have to deal with that. And we know that Paul also has future visions of Christ. Right? Where he talks about seeing Christ in heaven.
Some of his visions are not the same, but are similar in some language to some of the prophets, in terms of like a shining light, a very bright presence. Obviously not the same as all of them. Like the other ones go in a little bit more detail because there's a throne room vision, but it's still similar presence of something divine's happening. And Luke's describing it in a quasi-Jewish way. Ish.
Right. I mean, he's doing the best he can. He's a Greek.
Right. And so it's kind of like, all right, so what qualifies then regarding a vision as meeting someone? Because are we going to throw out all the visions of the prophets?
Right. You have to toss out basically 90% of Ezekiel.
And I don't want to quickly jump there and say that they automatically have to do that. But I would like him to kind of clarify what qualifies as in regards to someone claiming a vision, what qualifies as a vision that is a true vision and one that shows they actually met the person and what it means to meet someone. Because if he's going to throw away just on a very blanket statement term in terms of a vision, well, we can't accept any visions. I'm not saying he's doing that, but I would really like to know what he kind of qualifies as certain things to work for that kind of definition to reject the Jesus vision.
Exactly, right? You lose Isaiah, you lose Ezekiel, you lose Jeremiah.
Lose Moses,
you
the most
lose
important.
Moses. Right, exactly. You lose Moses, you lose Joel, you lose Zephaniah, you lose Zechariah. Right? You
lose Abraham.
You lose Abraham, you lose Jonah, you lose
Adam.
You lose Adam. Right? You
miss out.
Exactly. You toss out basically all of Scripture. Right? So we have to, like you said, right, we have to establish what are the grounds of criteria here, right? What is the metric by which we are judging what is a true vision, what is a false one? And if the true vision aligns with me and the false one does not align with me, well, now we have an unfalsifiable metric, and therefore it has to be thrown out.
Right, and I don't know if we'll get there into this response. Later on, he talks about how Sean brings up the question of Jesus' divinity, and he says, well, he's going to try and divide the line, like, yeah, we're talking about Jesus as Messiah, not Jesus as divine. And it's like, well, for the apostles, that was the same thing in the literature. You couldn't separate those two. It was the very idea that the Messiah, aka the anointed king, that the king who has come is God. And that's why you can't really separate those, which is why Sean's trying to tie it back in, because he understands that those things are one and the same thing. But the reason I mention that is because if we're talking about Jesus, Paul seeing Jesus in a vision, and he's using divine language, well, that qualifies as part of the what counts, because we're talking about Jesus as a vision that Paul is seeing, who he believes later to then also be the Messiah, who is God incarnate. And so that the ground rules of discussion need to be established by him.
Exactly. And then that kind of segues us nicely into the second point, which is, so this guy makes the same mistake that Ben Shapiro does, which is he says, well, he was clearly a Torah observant Jew, right? He was clearly wise. He was clearly a teacher of some kind. Okay, well, now we have the C.S. Lewis problem here, right? Jesus is one of three things. He's Lord, he's liar, he's lunatic. If you call him a wise teacher, as Shapiro does, and as this guy doesn't outright say but alludes to,
Well, he
right, with
said
the
he was
statement of
Torah
he was-
observant, but what's
right,
funny
he's
is
Torah
that
observant. If Jesus claimed to be God, which he does in many places, and he is not, he is breaking the first and foremost rule of the Torah.
yeah. Well, that's the funny thing too. Again, I don't know if we'll get here because I might be spoiling some things. It's over an hour long, so we might not get there. But he goes on the first bit here about how Jesus is Torah observant, and then later goes on saying that Jesus teaches things opposing the Torah. That doesn't work. You can't say he's this, but he's this. Either he is
Exactly.
Torah observant or he isn't. And he plays with both. And then later on, he's going about how Christians should follow Jesus more. But also, if Jesus
Agree.
isn't God, if Jesus isn't God, then that means if Christianity is false, then by the Jewish texts, which is for us the Old Testament, aka the Hebrew Bible, we shouldn't be worshiping other gods or something else that is claiming to be Yahweh.
Exactly. And so that's something that
Like you
I
can't.
noted
You're taking
when John MacArthur died. He and Ben, people don't know this, he and Ben Shapiro were actually quite close. And Ben talked about it on his show. He like devoted an entire segment to just saying, how much he really enjoyed his time with John MacArthur, and that more people need to be like him. And he said, and while we differed in religion, I believe that he was drawn to God and very close to God and on a pathway to God, and therefore he is now in heaven with God because he observed the 10 commandments. And I was like, hang on a second. While he may have some off-color views of the bodily nature of Christ, right? We've talked about Nestorianism in the past. John MacArthur has not openly called, or did not openly call himself a Nestorian, but taught a lot of Nestorian ideas. Irregardless, he certainly viewed Jesus as God incarnate in whatever fashion that looked like.
which would defy
That
the
would
first
mean
commandment.
exactly, right? From the Jewish perspective, right? The modern Jewish perspective, I should say, that defies the first commandment.
Which is interesting
Which-
because they're playing politics here. They're trying to be like, yeah, you're wrong, but you're right. And it's like, no, you can't.
Right.
Either you're going
right
to
or you're
follow the
wrong.
text or you're not going to follow the text. And you're saying, tying it back here, you're saying Jesus is Torah observant. But he's later going to say that about all these reasons why Jesus is teaching against the Torah, that he's not following the Torah. And then
Right.
say that Christians should follow Christ more, which, again, 100% agree. We should. But also, you're then telling us to follow someone who is teaching, in your mind, opposing Torah, opposing Yahweh's words. That's a problem to promote
yeah.
that. If we are wrong and you're correct, you meaning this Jewish person right here, because I can't remember his name for some reason,
Fair enough.
that would mean that you are effectively teaching heresy to go and worship something else, which is a problem. Because the whole point of Judaism is to, well, not the whole point, but part of the purpose of Judaism is to be the priests to the world when you have the Levites who are the priests to Israel, which is then what Jesus calls the global church to do, to be the priests where he is the
Right.
Levite, he is the high priest, and he's sending us out to be the priest
That's
to the
the
world.
essence of Hebrews, right?
Right.
Yeah. No, so that kind of brings that to a point, right, where he's Lord, liar, or he's lunatic, right? Either what he says is true, and therefore he is Lord, he is God, and we should follow his teachings, we should observe the Torah like he did, or he's a liar, in which case he is not a Torah observant Jew, or he's a lunatic, in which case you shouldn't listen to a thing he says, including about following the Torah. Right? So you can't have it all three ways. Now, Ben Shapiro, I'm going to keep referencing him because he's talked a lot about this, adds a fourth L, which is legend. Right? And so he uses the excuse that, well, oh, welcome back. No, not in the sense that you mean it. Empowered as in, I feel empowered to go and share the gospel. Yes. Right? Empowered. No. In fact, Witchmaster, I am in one place in the Bible. I am in 1 Timothy 1, verse 15. Go check that out, and you'll know what I mean. That is the only place in the Bible that I am. More to the point, because we're not going to do this again, Witchmaster. You didn't answer several questions that we had last stream. We are on a very different topic. We're going to focus on Judaism today. If you want to have a conversation in the future, that can, Lord willing, be a possibility. But today, we're going to focus on Judaism.
Thanks for coming, though.
Yeah. The point that I was making was, legend. Shapiro says, well, the Gospels were written, 30 years after that fact, and, got him. Got him. No, he says that yeah, all right.
I'll monitor comments. You make your point.
Yeah, don't even put that up. That's irrelevant. He's like, well, the Gospels were written, decades later. They were written decades after the fact, and therefore they can't really be trustworthy. It's like, well, firstly, we have a very clear and present gospel narrative 5 to 10 years after Jesus, right? You get the First Corinthian Creed, which is dated within 5 to 10 years of Jesus. Then we get, and then, Paul writes the letter to the Thessalonians at the latest by 50 AD, right? Which also, he said 50 Common Era, CE. Really? Grow up, dude. Like, come on. What marks the difference between before Common Era and Common Era? What event there caused that to change?
Oh.
I mean, really, grow up. Like, come on. What are we doing? But anyways.
Sorry, you keep going.
What were you going to say?
I'll save it for later. It's a point
I get not wanting to say. Yeah, I get not wanting to say Anno Domini because he's, it's year of our Lord, which they would be like, well, he's not our Lord, which Christ, as the beautiful meme points out, Christ is Lord whether you accept him or not. Hate to break it to you. Every knee will bow, every tongue will confess. But irrelevant to the point. If you want to make that argument that the Gospels are written later, right? Written, notice, we still have that unbroken narrative that comes very early, very close to Christ, and then these Gospels are written and handed to the same people who were eyewitnesses to the life of Jesus, and they go, "Yep, that checks out. Yep, I remember that happening. Yep, he said that. Yep, he did that. All of that's true." And even when Paul writes to the Corinthians in the Creed, he says, 500 people witnessed and nobody bats an eye. Right? Like nobody says, "Well, hang on, that didn't happen." We don't have any Jewish writings to say. And there was this false claim going around that 500 people had seen Jesus, right? Even just years later. There isn't we know that's not true. We know that part was made up. Nobody denies it. That 500 people at one time claimed to have seen the risen Christ. Now, if you want to make that argument, if you want to say this can't be the case because it's legend, it's too far later. All right. Moses. How many years after Abraham did he live? How many years after Joseph did he live? Let's go to the last chapter of Genesis. How many years, Joshua?
Well over 400.
So if we're gonna say if we're gonna
Not
say that,
only
right?
that,
And
but let's
so
remember that yes, we believe the Holy Spirit. Well, it's in our case the Holy Spirit. In your case, it was Yahweh's breath
right.
only. Um,
I
Spirit.
would say I would caveat modern Judaism says that.
Sure. Um, Moses still wrote that after the Exodus events, which means now we're separating even further, which involves a divine, which we would agree on, a divine guidance to
Right.
write those things. But that
So
came
then why
centuries later,
exactly? So then why can't the Gospels also be divinely inspired?
which came decades later.
Right. So this is within living memory of the people writing it. Right. Moses never met any of the people in Genesis. The apostles were the best friends of Jesus. They lived with him. They walked with him every day for 3 years. He taught them every single thing that ends up in the Gospels. Even Luke's Gospel is very clearly based on eyewitness testimony. Right?
Of
He
which
makes
he
very
states in the very
specific,
beginning chapter.
exactly. He
Paragraph.
makes very specific and accurate claims about things that a Greek could not know, lest he be talking to somebody who saw them.
Hence why he caveats this is for Theophilus. This is not a person who knows what's going on, person who does not really know what's going on, and he's written this account for him to understand. And then he's also traveling with Jewish people, which means he's very aware of Jewish way of speaking as best as he can understand as a Greek person, but he understands it enough to be like the significance, and with the eyewitness testimony, be like, I understand what's going on here.
Exactly. So either Jesus is Lord, he's liar, or he's lunatic. Legend does not work.
No.
And if
It's-
legend doesn't work, and he's not a liar, right? Because you call him a Torah observer, so he's therefore he can't be a liar. Otherwise, he's not a Torah observer. He's not a lunatic, because then you have to completely disregard
Torah observer.
everything he says. You have to completely disregard everything he says, including if he tells you to follow the Torah. You should not listen to him because he's a lunatic.
Which he frequently states, I did not come to abolish Torah or the
Exactly.
prophets. If we put it in the Aramaic and Hebrew, he's saying, I did not come to abolish the Torah, the teaching, which means not just the law, but the first 5 books of the whole Hebrew Bible that we agree on
Mm-hmm.
as the pillar of the rest of the texts.
Exactly.
Did-
And therefore, he must be Lord. Which means he is God, and you need to follow him.
It's funny to me how I didn't get this. This is not my idea, but once he said it, I watched this interview, it made a whole lot of sense to me. Trent Horn did a video where he's responding to Tovia Singer, and he says, when Jews start to sound like atheists. And then I listened, I'm like, holy smokes, this is every argument an atheist makes when it comes to Jesus. And I was like, holy smokes, I never thought of it that way. And I was like, that is
Yeah.
a brilliant catch that he had. I was like, dang, that is so true. And I'm watching
Yep.
this, I'm like, these are the arguments that a atheist would make. That they wouldn't say Torah observer, but they would say he was a good teacher, which still runs into the same problems, which is what
Exactly.
C.S. Lewis's problem was, as you just mentioned.
Right,
And
yeah,
then you run
C.S.
into
Lewis was writing about atheism. Yeah.
right. And that's and the other interesting thing is Tovia Singer also mentioned how he believes that, I mean, this was years ago, I think, about how he believes that Muslims are more closely related to Jews than Christians based on certain things. And his arguments were
Oh,
very
slave of Allah.
atheist.
There is a Jew hiding behind me. Come and kill him.
I know. It's wild.
All right. So, which brings me to the final point, and actually, which Esther's comment kind of feeds into it.
Let me pull it up.
Jews don't. You go for it. Jews don't want to be Christians. It's like a sheep farmer getting down on all fours and joining his sheep flock. That kind of, I had to actually laugh when he said the guy in the video said, "Oh, if he were really the Messiah, the Jews would have been the first ones to believe in him. It's like, well, technically, some of them were, but that's beside the point.
All of his first followers were Jewish.
Exactly. And the movement starts in Judea, in Jerusalem, right? Like, so you were, but
And Jesus points out you were the first people he went to.
I just want to point out, buddy, friend, pal, my dude.
My
How
sister,
many
not in
prophets?
Christ.
How many prophets were persecuted in Israel? O Jerusalem, you who slay the prophets. How long have I wanted to take you under my wings as a mother hen gathers her chicks, but you were not willing. The blood of Zechariah is crying out, my friend.
Yeah. All the prophets are like, boy, you want to say that to me?
Exactly.
Now it's just a prophet. No, but also like, okay, so let's, obviously as Christians, we're going to say Christianity is true. I mean, that's obviously what we believe. So like, one, as you pointed out, Jesus says that there's this issue that the Jews have. Secondly, as you mentioned, Jesus came to Judea, that's where his ministry began, and his primary ministry was to the Jews. As Paul says, it was to the Jews first and then to the Greeks. Paul also points out that there are things that were kept hidden to make sure that his gospel, like not just in terms of the message, but the actual action and fulfilling, did become true and was fulfilled. And that there were some things kept from them, of which then Jesus, as you see, he starts a little more cryptic, and he gets less cryptic and less cryptic and less cryptic until you eventually just have him screaming at him blasphemy and tearing their robes because dude just claimed to be the cloud rider of Daniel 7, aka claiming to be Yahweh. The Jews were his first followers and his first rejectors at the same time.
And so let's get a little bit into why. Also, I just want to say really quickly about Witchmaster's comment. So that's like a sheep farmer getting down on all fours joining a sheep flock. Well, it's a good thing we have a shepherd. But no, that's something I kind of wanted to get into more. And I would love to ask this guy the question, okay, when the Messiah comes, what will he be like? Right, because the Jews at that time are expecting to be delivered from Rome. They think the Messiah is going to come, overthrow Rome, and establish the permanent kingdom of Israel.
Which was part of the cryptic language of the Old Testament, was the separation of Mashiach in reference to a political figure and someone who's going to come and suffer on behalf of
Right.
Israel.
Messiah ben David and Messiah ben Joseph. Right.
Right.
That's kind of the idea there. And they were expecting Messiah ben David. What they got was Messiah ben Joseph. And they didn't want Messiah ben Joseph. They wanted Messiah ben David. They wanted freedom, and they wanted it now, right? They wanted everything that they were looking for now. That's not what Christ came to do. And so imagine, put yourself in their position, right? You have been oppressed by Rome for centuries by this point. Right? You have been conquered many times over. Your people have suffered greatly. And you are in particular in a very difficult stretch. Right? Being a Jew in Judea in the first century is a miserable life. It is constant taxation. It is constant oppression. You are not allowed to celebrate and worship in the way that you would normally do. You are constantly treated as lower class citizens. Right? It's just an awful existence. Understandably, you would want to be delivered from that. In comes a figure who says, I am the deliverer. Now, your mind is automatically going to jump to, oh, he's going to deliver us from this oppression that we're going through, right? This Roman cruelty that we're facing. And he says, no, I'm not here to do that. I am here to deliver you from a much greater oppression, the oppression of sin. And I can hear like a Jewish voice in my head be like, that's great, but you want to do something about this oppression? Right? Do you wanna kind of help us out here against Rome? And Jesus says, it's not what I came to do.
Yeah. The crazy thing is that half his teachings, like he is asked about oppression and he gets comment on it, but he also is like, yeah, the fact that you're being oppressed, it's a sign that you're flourishing. It's a sign that you're doing that things are going the way they should be. It's like so upside down from what the entirety of Christianity from the second Jesus showed up is just like everything flipped around. Kingdom flipped around. View on ethics and the world around them flipped around. View on the Messiah flipped around. It's just all so
Exactly.
opposite way of thinking. View of religion that a God would come and die for you flipped around. So
Well,
counter.
I would say, right, because obviously we have the benefit of hindsight, right? And hindsight is always 20/20. But if you read the prophets closely, you would expect all of this, right? Which is exactly what Jesus says, right? And especially he says it to the Emmaus disciples. Right? He goes through I don't know if he went through the entirety of the scriptures necessarily, but he goes through the scriptures and points out all of the places where it's like, this was me, this was me, this is me, this is telling my coming, and this is how it foreshadowed exactly what was going to happen here. Right? I think of Zechariah 12, right? That had to be a passage that came up there. He's like, by the way, Zechariah 12, when they talk about God being pierced,
Keep going. Keep going.
God being pierced, it's like, yeah, that was me. That just happened. Right? Like that's just
Keep going.
that's just what happened, right? I was nailed to a cross. I was pierced. I am the God who is pierced. And you are mourning for me as one mourns for a son.
All right. I'm going to give any other thoughts regarding his statement.
Yes, but hang on.
It's about the comment section. What you're about to say now.
Yes.
Okay.
The whole story
just gonna-
is an ego.
I was gonna say
assume you meant
this.
trip.
I was going to say this because this was part of a debate that was had the last time this person was here, and they never clarified a consistent definition. So I'm going to put a pin in this regarding ego and higher conscious
Fair enough.
because we went in circles last time.
We did.
And I would like to stay on topic. If this person is still here later and wants to go through these conversations again and you're up for it, we can. But let's stay on.
No, I got stuff to do tomorrow. I can't be up late tonight.
Then let's stay on topic with this and not get pulled into the
Right.
ego.
I know. I just want to say, again, 1 Timothy 1:15. That's the only spot in the Bible I am. I have no misgivings about my status or my worthiness or my position to other people. Go read 1 Timothy 1:15. That is the essence of the gospel. It is not about being higher or better. The message of the gospel is you are so unbelievably unworthy, undeserving scum. The only thing that can save you is God's grace. Now go and preach that to other people. Say, look at me, look at what a horrible person I used to be, and look at what God still did with me. Now imagine what he can do with you, because you are better than I am. You should come to Christ. That's the message of the gospel. It is not an ego trip. It is the opposite. It is humbling yourself, saying, I am not worthy of anything. I am not worthy of life itself. But God is gracious, and he worked through me.
Just,
Right? 2 Corinthians 12. It's the reason I love that passage so much. It's God saying, you are weak, and because of that, I can use you all the more to glorify myself. It is not an ego trip. It is the opposite.
I was going to say, Matthew, I think it's 19 or 20, is where Jesus talks about how the first will be last and last will be first. That there is not about one's greater than the other. And that's in the context of previously the apostles coming and asking who is greater. And he's like, no, we're not playing this game. We're not doing this whole, which is better. That's not the point of the kingdom of heaven. It's never been the point of the kingdom of heaven. It's something that you guys have established yourselves. And so, ego is
Right.
not in the picture.
And to that point, no, I am not worthy. No, I am not worthy. You say, so you are not worthy? Not at all. It is God alone who makes me worthy. I am a wretched, miserable sinner. I am not worthy of life itself. I am scum. Yes. Gladly. I will gladly and freely admit that. I am a horrible human being. But there is a God who looked at me and went, I can use him. I don't know how he does it. I don't know why he does it, because there are literally anyone else would be better. But he chose me for whatever reason. He's got a purpose. I don't necessarily know what it is. But I am so unworthy and so far beneath every other person. But yet he chose me. And he's working through me. And it's not me that does it. I am not the one putting myself here. I don't have brain damage. What? What?
All right. Witchmaster,
this is the last thing.
Back
This
on
is
to
the last thing
topic.
I'm going to say. This is the last thing I'm going to say, and we're going to keep on going. And it's actually going to kind of tie in a little bit here. Why does Jesus wash the feet? The only person ever worthy who lived a perfect life, who was sinless in every possible sense. He's the one who stoops down and washes the feet. That is the example that we are supposed to follow. That we are even worse off than somebody who stoops down and washes feet. Right? That is considered to be the lowest of the low. Right? You are a slave if you are washing feet in that culture. And that's what Christ does. So if Christ, who is the only worthy person, does that, then who am I to even consider myself greater than others? So that's all I'm going to say. We're moving on from that conversation, because I would love to talk about the acts of Christ, the actions of Jesus. Because he says that, if he walked on water, right, and he commanded the wind and the waves, that doesn't make him Messiah. The frick it doesn't. What prophet walked on the water? What prophet? I am not nearly humble enough, unfortunately. Then you must be a lowly, humble man. I am not nearly humble enough. Because I am not groveling on my knees every second of every day, which is what I ought to be doing with how unworthy I am. Moving on.
No more comments for now.
Yeah. How does that not make him so much higher, right? What prophet of his own power, of his own accord, said to the wind and the waves, be still, and they listened? What mere prophet does that?
The closest you're going to get to my memory is Moses with the Sea of Reeds, of which it says that he did something and then Yahweh is the one who did it. But you then have, let's talk about the walking on, as we've talked about, not the waters, the sea, and how Matthew lays out, and I would argue probably Mark too, but definitely Matthew, since we spent our time, lays out that this is a divine event.
Yep.
And that Peter, when he walks on, is by faith in the one who's already walking on the water. Which means that if we're going to tie parallels here, Peter is being Moses raising the staff, but with less faith because he looks away in fear. And Jesus is the Yahweh who is moving the waves.
Exactly. Yeah, no, it's either this is extreme ignorance on the part of this guy, or it's intentional misleading.
Now, what I will do is I will grant him his point that the Bible does talk about how there will be people who do things, do miracles that are not of Yahweh, and that you do have these people who are matching the miracles of Moses and Aaron before Pharaoh for the first like half of like the 10 plagues, like the first little bit of the 10 plagues. I'll grant him that, but even still, there's a point when they could not replicate things.
Right.
There does come that point. So there is a limit to how much one can do apart from Yahweh, as compared to those who
The demons still have power.
Exactly.
But
so like I want to grant
a house
him that
divided against itself cannot stand.
right. So I'll grant him that case. What he's saying, like that's a fair point. That means we need to analyze those different moments and seeing where is his power coming from, what is his power demonstrating, what is his power pointing to. In Jesus' case, he always points to Yahweh, the Father, or God the Father. It's kind of weird to phrase when you throw the divine name in there. Talking about just like he always credits it, gives him credit, but also points to himself as being of the same being, the same essence, even though he's a different person. But he always is talking about the teachings of the Torah and these miracles. Like this is not foreign to Jesus, which means everything he's doing is for the God of the Hebrew Bible. So now we have to like, okay, so if he's doing this all for him, to glorify the Father, where has he gained this power that no other person can do, that it says that only God can do? Like again, we can't, like, I understand, like you just gotta mention, like he talks about the whole, this is a point to Messiah, but again, like for the Christians, they can't separate the two. They can't separate the idea of Messiah and God. Like that was the same thing for them in the apostolic mind.
Yeah, burnt pin. No, because of the definition of magic. Magic is power that comes from without, right? Which is like external, right? You do not have some innate power within you to do magic. Jesus' power is innate to him because he is God incarnate. He doesn't have magical powers. He has God's power because he is God.
Oh.
So, just a quick little aside there.
So yeah, like I'll grant and understand his argument, but that means
I won't.
by his own verse. What was that?
I said I won't.
No, what I mean is I'll grant that is a fair point, but the text therefore tells you that we have to analyze and critique and be aware and discern of those miracles, which is why I'll grant him that, because by his own standard, which he's going to point to the Torah therefore points to Jesus as being the divine Messiah.
Exactly.
That's why I'll grant him that, because it actually works against him. It doesn't work in his favor.
Yeah. All right. We should probably keep moving if you want to get to another one, because we are almost at an hour, and I don't want to be up till like midnight tonight doing my Bible study.
No, you're fine. So Sean's gonna press him a little bit on the miracle question. You can tell me like after he makes his next statement if you want to stop here or if you want to kind of keep hearing if he gets another point that we haven't touched on yet.
So let's talk about some of the miracles. Did you expect, or do you believe that a Messiah would at least do some miracles?
Sure, but again, it really wouldn't sway us one way or the other. In fact, when Moses, for example, in the book of Exodus is told to turn the Nile River into blood, the Egyptian sorcerers say, big deal, we could do that too. And they could also do that with the frogs. It wasn't only until the third plague, Kenan, lice, whereby the Egyptian sorcerers were not able to do it. The Talmud is replete of stories of individuals like Bilam, for example, who asks Balak asks Bilam to curse the Jewish people. And of course, God changes the wording of Bilam's curses, and instead of a curse, it's a blessing. Matovu Olecha Yaakov Mishkanosecha Yisrael. How goodly are the tents of Jacob. But we believe that, sure, certainly there is, I don't know, magic is probably not the right word, but there can be aspects of, again, divinity is probably not the right word either, but there can be miracle aspects to people. But again, that would not in any way prove or disprove one's ability to be the Messiah. It's really about, sorry, let me add one last. It's really about rebuilding the temple. It's really about the ingathering of the exiles. It's really about restoring or bringing about global peace. And if you and I were to be objective, leaving our own religious biases aside, it's quite clear that Jesus and no one on planet Earth has accomplished any of those things. The temple has not been rebuilt. You can make an argument there's been an ingathering of the exiles, which is why there's a term called religious Zionists, of Jewish Zionists who actually believe that the establishment of the state of Israel in 1948 is what's called Reshit Smichat U'Lasenu, the beginning of the smichas, the offsprings, let's say, of the redemption. So one can make an interesting argument that religious scientists make that we're actually living in the Messianic age, but you can't really attribute that to Jesus.
Now, each one.
But what if he is the temple? In which case, the temple was destroyed, and he rebuilt it.
I mean, the Gospels even specify that Jesus says that, and that's what he means. They put a little narrator's note saying he means this body.
Exactly. Right. John is very intent about that. Right? You talked about that in the past, how John is like, yes, by the way, the king is back on his throne. The kingdom of God is here, and Jesus is the temple. Right? That's very much the focus of John. And that's also the focus of Hebrews. Right? Is all of this stuff that you have clung to is now fulfilled in Jesus. That includes the priestly line, like we mentioned, and that most certainly includes the temple. Right? There's like 5 whole chapters of Hebrews dedicated to, yep, this is now Jesus. This part of the temple is now Jesus. This part of the temple is now Jesus. This part of the temple is now Jesus.
Yeah, and so like we have to remember what the purpose of a temple or a tabernacle was. So the temple and the tabernacle, first off, was supposed to be as Exodus Point calls it, the dwelling place of the Lord, where he can be dwelling amongst his people, which is kind of weird to think about with the whole omnipresent thing, but it is what his place to dwell with his people. And when we look at the structure of it, which we're going to get into a little bit in our next podcast series. I would love to do a separate podcast series, really dive into this more specifically or something like it. But the temple is a microcosm of the throne room of God, of the Garden of Eden, and of mountaintops. Like, it is a microcosm of all those things. It's a microcosm of mountains, which is where was Moses met before they had the tabernacle. And then the mountain is a microcosm of what Eden was, which is a microcosm of what the entire creation is, which is God's throne room. So the temple is supposed to be God's divine presence. And Jesus is claiming to be that divine presence, which means, as Jews should even note within the Second Temple, they don't think God's really present in their temple at that time, during the Second Temple period, after the prophets. And so,
which is prophesied in the prophets that God is in the temple, right? In the second period. Sorry, that one just always flabbergasts me, that Jews will look at that prophecy and go, "Eh." Like, no, what are you doing? What are you talking about? It's talking about how the temple that Ezra built will have God in it. And then a man claiming to be God walks into it. Come on, people, what are we doing here?
but as John languages, it is that he describes Jesus' incarnate body as a tabernacle, as a temple. And so if that is the dwelling place, and if Jesus is correct, which obviously we believe he is, that he is God incarnate, that means his body, as John articulates, is the temple of God presently, of which is what the thing that is destroyed and then rebuilt, aka death and resurrection. And then Hebrews and the rest of the letters go on describing that now that he's the cornerstone and we are the stones building off of that cornerstone as thou the global temple of which the Holy Spirit fills and is within. So it's just part of this language. Now, of course, that is if Christianity is true, but even by his earlier statement, he corners himself by saying that Jesus is Torah observant, which contradicts his whole arguments.
I mean, it's nice that you think that, my guy, but it's nice that you think that. Again, Lord, liar, lunatic. Gotta be one of the three.
I think we found one of our next apologetic streams content.
Sure. I would love to take a peek at some of those videos and see what you got.
But anyways,
something that I didn't touch on before, but all right, I want to backtrack a little bit for the miracles. when he says, like, let's grant the miracles, one of those miracles is forgiving sins. What prophet forgives sins? Right? Isaiah is very clear that God forgives sins and the Messiah forgives sins. Well, Jesus heals a man via forgiving his sins. That's kind of, the miracles don't make him Messiah. Well, that one really kind of do, though.
Yeah.
That particular one, that distinct action does it. It doesn't matter whether or not Jesus was resurrected. Deuteronomy 13 states that even if a prophet performs a miracle and it comes true, we are still to reject that prophet if they claim to be God. That's not what it says. It doesn't say if the prophet claims to be God. All right, let's go to Deuteronomy 13. Josh, I assume you're pulling it up, by the way. You just
I'm working on it.
immediately ran to your keyboard. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm working on it.
Faster.
Well, because I was going to originally pull up my software, and then I decided to do it this way, and then I was debating on if I should. Pull up an actual Tanakh.
If a prophet, one who foretells by dreams, appears among
That way
you
they can't argue
and
against
announces
us
to
for
you
it.
a sign or wonder, and if the sign or wonder is spoken of takes place, the prophet says, "Let us go follow other gods you have not known, and let us worship them." He must not listen to the words. No. It doesn't say if the prophet claims to be another god. All right. Let's look at what it actually says.
It reads, if a prophet or one who foretells by a
You
dream
must not
appears.
listen to the words of the prophets.
Okay.
Hang on. We're getting there, pal. Hang on. You must not listen to the words of that prophet or dreamer. The Lord your God is testing you whether to find out whether you love him with all your heart and all your soul. It is the Lord your God you must follow, you must revere, keep his commands, and obey him, serve him, and hold fast to him. Prove where Jesus was worshipped?
Hold on.
Oh my God, I have so many passages. Matthew 14, John 20. Oh, in the Tanakh.
Hold on.
In the Tanakh, where the Messiah will be worshipped, Zechariah 3-12.
Just to go back to an earlier point, says the prophet claims to be another god, and never doesn't say that anywhere in this chapter.
Anyways,
first off, saying you backtracked and said,
"It is the Lord your God you must follow and keep him, and follow, and him you must revere, keep his." Josh, stop scrolling.
Sorry, I thought you were reading something else.
All right, you know what? I'm switching to my own tab. Hang on.
What'd you say? Where were you?
You must follow the Lord your God and fear him. You must keep his commands and listen to his voice. You must worship him and remain faithful to him. That prophet or dreamer must be put to death because he urged rebellion against the Lord your God who brought you out of the land of Egypt and redeemed you from the place of slavery to turn you from the way the Lord your God commanded you to walk. You must purge the evil from you. If your brother, the son of your mother, or your son or daughter, or the wife you embrace, or your closest friend secretly entices you, saying, "Let us go and worship other gods," which neither you nor your fathers have known, any of the gods of the people around you, near or far from you, from one end of the earth to the other, you must not yield to him, listen to him, show him no pity, and do not spare him or shield him. Instead, you must kill him. Your hand is to be the first against him to put him to death, then all the hands of the people. Stone him to death for trying to turn you away from the Lord your God who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the place of slavery. All Israel will hear and be afraid. They will no longer do anything evil like this among you. If you hear it said about one of your cities, the Lord God is giving you to live in, that wicked men have sprung up among you, led the inhabitants of their city astray, and said, "Let's go worship other gods," which you have not known, you are to inquire and investigate thoroughly. If the reports turn out to be true that this detestable thing happened among you, you must strike down the inhabitants of that city with a sword. Completely destroy everyone in it, as well as the livestock with the sword. You are to gather all its spoil in the middle of the city square and completely burn up the city, and all its spoil for the Lord your God. The city must remain a mound of ruins forever. It is not to be rebuilt. Nothing set apart for destruction is to remain in your hands, so that the Lord will turn from his burning anger and grant you mercy, show you compassion and multiply you as he swore to your fathers. This will occur if you obey the Lord your God, keeping all his commands I am giving you today, doing what is right in the sight of the Lord your God. That is the entirety of Deuteronomy 13. At no point does it say that a prophet cannot claim to be God. if he is in fact God.
Also, you said
At
I
no
didn't
point does it
backtrack.
say
I
that.
had a limited character count. So one, YouTube doesn't have that limit because I've debated people in the comment section who have said
Josh, you are not coming through volume.
what? How about now?
Nope, you are still muted.
How about now?
Nope. So, burden of proof, where Jesus was worshipped. Proverbs 30 is another one that comes to mind. Right, so
Wait, it shows I have signal.
try leaving and coming back. Actually, if you leave, will it end the stream?
No.
I know, dude, you just verbally responded to me. Okay. I was like, you just verbally responded to me. We can't hear you.
Are you sure about that? I'm gonna pull up my
Proverbs
YouTube.
chapter 30. So actually, I take that back. Witchmaster, I am also in a second place in the Bible. I am Proverbs chapter 30, verse 2. All right, so this is verses 1 through 4. The words
Caleb?
of Agur, son of Jaka, the oracle. Yes, Josh?
I'm coming through the stream.
Oh, did you whisper to me? No, I can't hear you.
Is your headphones off?
None of these say Jesus is worshipped. Are you looking for a passage that says Jesus is worshipped? Are you looking for a passage that says Jesus? Because that's not going to happen in the Old Testament. They didn't know that his name would be Jesus. Josh is calling me. Hang on, where's my phone? There it is.
I checked the stream. I'm coming through.
Oh, you are? You are
check
not
your
coming through.
headphones.
Hang on. Talk?
Hello.
No, it's not coming through me. Deuteronomy 13 gives criteria. Yeah, we went through Deuteronomy 13's criteria. It didn't have anything to do with that. It didn't have anything to do with if God in the flesh comes and claims to be God. He's not right. Where does Jesus say to go worship other gods? That's the criteria in Deuteronomy 13, right? We just read it. We read the whole chapter on stream. Where is that? Right? Where did Jesus say, "Come, let us worship other gods"?
Hallelujah.
Okay, I can't hear it. Claim Jesus is God, then shouldn't you be able to show that, given the warning Deuteronomy 13 gives, show that Jesus is God? Who worship Jesus in the Tanakh? Okay, well, anytime you see, well, here, hang on, I'll put it up on screen.
Can you hear me now?
Okay, no, so perhaps I will have to leave and come back.
Well, hold on.
If you can't prove that Jesus is to worship another God, Israel has not known. The good news is he's not. He's also the God of Israel, which he claims in John 8:58, in Matthew 14, in Mark 14:62, in Matthew 28, right? Like, he claims to be the God of Israel in so many places. But right here. So, Proverbs 30:1 through 4. The words of Agur, son of Jakah, the oracle, the man's oration to Ithiel and Ukal. I am more stupid than any other man, and I lack a man's ability to understand. Amen. I have not gained wisdom, and I have no knowledge of the Holy One. Who has gone up to heaven and come down? Who has gathered the wind in his hands? Who has bound up the waters in a cloak? Who has established the end? Hang on, I'm getting there. Right here on the screen. Who has established all the ends of the earth? What is his name, and what is the name of his son, if you know? Who's the son? Who's the son being spoken of there?
While Caleb can't hear me, I will throw this out there, and he'll
All right,
just hear nothing.
let's stick in Proverbs for a second.
Okay, never mind.
Let's go Proverbs 8.
He doesn't know that I'm here.
Wisdom.
I could just badmouth the entire time.
Exodus 4:22. All right. Let's go there.
By the way, while Caleb's scrolling, I'll say this real quick.
Israel is my firstborn
mind.
son. Yeah, so how in any way does that answer this statement? Right, so why is this a question then? Right, if the answer is just, oh, it's Israel. Right, so why is there a, who is this? Who is that? I have no, and he says, I have not gained wisdom and I have no knowledge of the Holy One. Why is that the statement? And why is it that he goes heaven, wind, waters, ends of the earth, and then asks, what is the name? No, no, no. You gave me an answer. You did not give me the answer. If Israel is the son being talked about, then why does he ask for a name? Why does he talk about all of these moments of God and power and creation and then mention a son?
I know Caleb can't hear me, but also we have the fact that David is called the son of God. Adam is referred to as a son.
I'm going to
Israel is
be right
referred to as a
back.
son. You have the angels who are called sons of God. There are numerous times where people are called son and firstborn and a variety of other things. So you just quoting this one point doesn't make your entire case. Also, as I was trying to say earlier, while Caleb is coming back, no, I like God's answer clearly. The point is that we kind of read it in context. You just quote mine, and just drop a verse, and we read it in context, which is problematic for you. So, but here's the thing too. I just want to back up earlier thing I was supposed to say. I've debated people in the comment section before. You don't have a character account on our. We don't block you from, and I've debated people who have had longer stuff. So you did backtrack because you were proven in Deuteronomy 13 that it doesn't say what you claim it said. Actually, I'm not proving my point. So why are you assuming this is your Jesus? You are proving my point. We are not assuming or proving your point actually at all. You didn't. How we proved your point? You've actually been given us verses to prove our point, or I've just shown that you don't know your own text. You said Deuteronomy 13 says something that it does not say. That's a problem. You made it. Your first claim was based on a text that does not say the thing you say it says. That's a problem. So how did I prove your point? I've actually proven that you backtracked, and then you tried to say it was because of character count. But you did backtrack, and you've now avoided the part where we stated all these things. Dude, you can't pretend like I didn't have if you do, it's because YouTube put prohibitions on you because you have shown to be not trusted on YouTube. That's how that works. Because we don't have that limit that we put on it, and no one else I've commented with before has an issue. What argument have I made that was circular? You're the one dropping verses. You're the one dropping verses that don't prove your point. Deuteronomy 13 literally talks against your point. Doesn't say the thing you say it says. You said it's anything about a prophet claiming to be God. It doesn't say that anywhere.
Yeah, no, that was an open lie. By the way, I don't. It must be my mic. I
know.
unplugged my mic and then I could hear you. I plugged it back in. I couldn't hear you, and then I couldn't make any sound. So,
Goodness sakes, LOL.
indeed.
Yeah, I agree, dude. I agree.
Goodness sakes, man. So
Dude,
again,
we can talk
we
if you
have-
want to talk about this. We can talk about the Godhead, which Jesus claims to be part of.
doesn't make any exceptions for resurrections. What?
It doesn't. What is that point?
Okay, and if anything, if the resurrection is true, that would confirm what Jesus is saying. Yeah, okay,
There is no
and
secret code to breaking Deuteronomy 13. We've
okay,
actually
again,
agreed with
where?
Deuteronomy.
Hang on. You have still not answered the question. Where does Jesus say to worship a God other than the God of Israel?
Yeah, you're literally just throwing arguments that don't make sense. They are based on a text that doesn't say the thing you say it says.
Right, yeah. Josh, do you want to put that comment back up on screen? Actually, the one where he says that, right? Just so you know,
Which one?
The one where he says that a prophet claiming to be God is in
Yeah.
violation of Deuteronomy 13. Go ahead and
Yes.
toss that back up there.
Um.
It says that the prophet claims to be another God who Israel has not worshipped. If the prophet claims to be another God, it did not say that. That
Also,
was a
Jesus never
lie
claimed
by
to be
you.
another God. He claimed to be the God.
The God.
So it just shows, one, it shows you don't know your own text, and two, you don't know our texts. So if you're gonna do polemics, know the texts.
Right. And again, so I also doubt you read 10 chapters of, right? Because I said Zechariah 3 through 12 is very clear about multiple persons of God being worshipped. Not multiple gods, multiple persons of the one God being worshipped. I doubt you read 10 chapters that quickly. I'm thinking you just, dude, we've
Also,
done it. We've done it several times now. Right? You did not answer Proverbs 30. You just said, "Oh, the son is Israel." That doesn't make sense. It's talking about creation.
oh,
Israel was not present at creation.
by the way, um, your own scholarship says that
The slow raising.
Jewish scholars have even stated that there is a two powers of heaven which Jesus claims to be part of which you find
Exactly.
all over. This is demonstrated by
And
David
guess
Wood, demonstrated by Michael Heiser, demonstrated by Alan Siegel, a Jew who says it has changed post first century due
right.
to Christianity.
And there's a reason I went to Proverbs 8. Right? Proverbs 8 is wisdom talking about being with God. Right? Okay, so let's go to Proverbs 8. Hang on.
I got you.
I have it pulled up right now, Josh. Don't worry about
Never
it.
mind.
All right, let's go to Proverbs 8.
Also, while that's pulling up, Jesus never points to another God. He points to the God of Israel. And therefore is not a false prophet by your definition.
Right.
He only points to the God of Israel.
So here we have this is wisdom in speaking in Proverbs 8. I was there when he established the heavens, when he laid out the horizon on the surface of the ocean, when he placed the skies above, when the fountains of gold or fountains of oceans rushed out. Oh my goodness, the fountains of the ocean gushed out. When he said, "Why are you stuttering?" When he set a limit for the sea, so that the waters would not violate his command. Interesting statement there. Uh, when he laid out the foundations of the earth, I was a skilled craftsman beside him. I was his delight every day, always rejoicing before him. I was rejoicing in his inhabited world, delighting in the human race.
If they were followers of Jesus, then they wouldn't, first off, have rejected that. They weren't followers of Jesus by the teachings of Jesus. And secondly, they're
Also,
not the
yeah,
only
the
group to claim
Ebionites
to
are
follow Jesus.
the Ebionites are heretics. Plain and simple, right? Like every single Christian would quickly go, "Well, that's heresy." Right? So you can claim to be a follower of Jesus. That doesn't make you one. Right? Let's go with the analogy here. By your logic, we are claiming to be followers of the God of the Old Testament, but you reject us as that. That's the same thing for us and the Ebionites. The difference is we actually have. They were not led by James the Just.
Okay,
They were
dude, again,
not led
if you're
by
going
James
to
the
do
Just.
polemics, know your text, know our text, and know history. You've demonstrated that you don't know any of those well enough. Jesus' brother was one who wrote one of the epistles pointed to him as Lord and God. What are you talking about? James became a follower of Christ, claimed that he was Lord, claimed that he was God, and participated in a council with the 12 apostles and Paul discussing that his saving work is enough and that Gentiles don't need to become Jews in the full sense.
Yeah, but they claimed to be disciples of James the Just. That doesn't mean they actually followed what he said.
Like here, they claim to be followers of Jesus, but they reject who Jesus claimed to be. Therefore, they
Exactly.
didn't follow.
And James appeals to Hosea. I believe it's chapter 4 of Hosea, where he talks about the rains, the coming of the spring, the fall and spring rains, and compares that to the coming of God. James takes that and says, "Yep, that's Jesus." It's talking
His
about
brother,
Jesus, his brother.
well, I'm saying also his brother
So-
Jude points to Jesus as being the angel of the Lord, who is also claimed to be Yahweh, as the one who leads him out of the Exodus.
Exactly.
Jesus'
So
own
yeah, no.
family believes he's God.
Yeah, no, you can claim what you'd like, doesn't make it accurate. I'm glad you're having fun. Actually, I'm having a lot of fun.
I agree. This is hilarious. Just how much you are acting like you know our text and your own text, and you've been proven false and a liar 3
Right,
times
so,
now.
but hang on. So I still want to get back to Proverbs 8. Educate on the Evionites. Dude, the Evionites are one of many heretical groups to spring up. They were not led by James the Just. They claim to follow him. Okay, all right, I'll do it right now.
Oh my goodness. So dude's not going to address the fact that he was caught lying about Deuteronomy 13,
Nope.
or about the fact that he
And
claimed
then-
that Jesus taught a false God when he only pointed to the God of Israel. He's not going to address any of the parts of the son, or the fact that Israel's not the only one called firstborn son. Frequently is not the only one called that. And John 14:28, buddy.
Okay, so here we have an article on the Ebionites. I also have a Stack Exchange pulled up regarding the Ebionites. So let's talk about this.
Hold on.
You can buy
Just
this book
real
for
quick
$5.
thing in the comment. Just
What's
real
up?
quick. Just real quick from his comment.
Sure thing.
He said, John 14:28. You have heard me say, I'm going away and I'm coming back to you. If you love me, you would be glad that I'm going to the Father, for the Father is greater than I. 1, so what? 2, yes, I did mention 2 powers of heaven. Your own scholars say it exists in the text prior to the first end of the first century. With the Ebionites, you're going to get your own dose of medicine with the Ebionites. Nope, not really. No worship Jesus in the Tanakh. Well, literally, Jesus says otherwise. Jesus never called by a son in the Tanakh. He's not called
Except
a son.
he is in in Proverbs 30, but you say he isn't said son. It can't be Israel. It's talking about creation, dude. Proverbs 30 is talking about creation.
And
Is Israel
again,
present at creation?
Israel's not the only one called firstborn
No, they
son
didn't.
by
No,
God.
they didn't. No, they did not. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John have some of the highest Christology. Right? Paul, the earliest source we have for anything on Jesus. So don't whine about 2 powers if you can't take the heat. Good grief, my guy. Paul, the earliest source we have on Jesus, was explicitly clear in Philippians 2, Colossians 2, Titus 2, right? Almost all of Romans. That Jesus
that's
is
not enough for
clearly
you,
God.
if that's not enough for you, guess what? Earliest post-biblical letter. First
And we're back
Clement.
to the Evionites. Good grief, dude.
First Clement claims he's God. First post scripture from the end of the first century, AD 93. You have a letter from a follower of the apostles claiming that Jesus is God. Where did he get that idea? From the apostles. Ebionites are not their earliest followers.
Okay, so right here, the Ebionites likely emerged in the late 1st or early 2nd century, which, if you'll note, is at least 50 years after Christianity's beginning in Jerusalem. Yeah, the Ebionites were wrong. The Ebionites were later, and they were wrong. That's not a difficult thing to say, right? Next, you're going to say that Marcion is like some Christian scholar.
Arius.
Right, exactly.
The Docetists. Again, if you want to play the whole first, second century, I can give you church fathers like First Clement referring to Jesus as divine, as God, as Lord.
Okay,
Also from the
here
end
we
of the
go.
first century into the second century.
The Apostle Paul was viewed with outright hostility, right? Which Peter, which they say the Ebionites held in high esteem, James, the Just, and Peter. Peter calls Paul's writings scripture, right? On par with the most divine writings. Two powers in heaven is wrong. There you go, Bal.
So guess what? All of your Jewish writings pre-first century have to be rejected.
Yep.
Because even Alan Siegel, a Jew scholar,
We
admits
did.
that that
We
was the
wait,
belief of the
hang on.
earliest
We
Jews.
did. We
He
did.
did.
You
So
you deal
simple.
with your comment saying that, which was a lie. You lied. You openly lied. Which verse? Isaiah 49:3. All right, you want to go to Isaiah 49 to make your point, bud? Hang on a second. So, hang on. Let's first finish this because you're trying to jump around, right? You're doing the machine gun approach, which is I'm going to spray a whole bunch of bullets and hope one of them hits a target. Let's actually deal with one thing at a time. Right? So, they believe that James especially was regarded as the ideal Christian legitimate head of the church. The Epistle of James was treated as authoritative, reflecting their moralistic and legalistic theology. Where does it say that James led them? Where does it say that James led them? Oh, he didn't? So, in other words, they just got something wrong?
Wow.
Weird.
Wow.
Weird. Okay, so you wanted to go to Isaiah 49. My guy, this is going to be a rough one for you. You didn't want to do that.
I got you.
I already have it pulled up, but thanks, my dude.
Oh, I already had it pulled up first. So
All right, then fine. You screen share it.
I did.
Okay, so you say Isaiah
49:3.
49:3. Yep. Okay. He said to me, "You are my servant Israel, and I will be glorified in him." But I myself said, "I have labored in vain." Right. So this is now the servant speaking. Right. This is now the servant speaking. But I myself, I have labored in vain, and I have spent my strength for nothing and futility. Yet my vindication was with the Lord, and my reward is with my God. And now says the Lord, who formed me from the womb to be his servant, to bring Jacob back to him, so that Israel might be gathered to him. For I am honored in the sight of the Lord, and my God is my strength. He says, it is not enough for you to be my servant, raising up the tribes of Jacob and restoring the protected ones of Israel. I will also make you a light to the nations, and you will be my salvation to the ends of the earth. How can Israel gather Israel? How can Israel gather Israel? It is not enough to just gather Israel either.
LOL. I agree. I agree.
How can Israel gather Israel?
The me is the servant. He said to me, "You are my servant, Israel, in whom I will spend my splendor."
Right. But so you're saying that the me is the nation of Israel. That's not inherently implied in the text. Right? Coastlands listen to me, distant peoples pay attention. The Lord called me before I was born. While he named me while I was in my mother's womb. Weird to have a nation in a womb. He made my words like a sharp sword. He hid me in the shadow of his hand. He made me like a sharpened arrow, and he hid me in his quiver. He said to me, "You are my servant Israel. I will be glorified in him." But I myself said, I have labored in vain. I have spent my strength for nothing in
Oh,
futility. Yet my vindication is with the Lord, and my reward is with my God. So hang on. Okay, so if me is Isaiah, you are saying that Isaiah then is the servant talking.
and Isaiah wouldn't have succeeded.
Which means that God would have made a false statement.
Which means Isaiah failed, which means this is a false prophecy, which means Deuteronomy 13 kicks in.
That is one of the best hoistings of one's own petard I've ever seen.
Again,
Right, so hang on. Back up a second.
hold on. Did you just agree?
Wait. Back up a second. Deal with right here, where the servant of God is explicitly called Israel. But then you said
It's Isaiah.
it's Isaiah. So which is it? Is it Israel or is it Isaiah?
And if you're going to say that Israel's representative, then we have a representative Israel, which would be the servant.
Which means
And
that
your
it's
claim
not
is
literally the
Isaiah,
nation of
but
Israel.
Isaiah doesn't do these things.
Ergo Deuteronomy 13. So which is it? Wait, hang on. Which is it though? Is it Israel or is it Isaiah? Because earlier it's all. So it's both. Shifting the goalposts are shifting dramatically. Right? So this is just I got caught. Israel includes all of them. So would it not include Jesus?
Okay. So
Would it not include Jesus? Jesus is a Jew.
also, you just went on about how it's Isaiah, and then it's Israel, and then it's Isaiah, and then it's Israel.
But Josh, it's both.
Oh. Oopsie. My bad. My mistake. Namaste.
Namaste. And by the way, don't think I've forgotten about Proverbs 8, my guy. You're still going to have to deal with the very clear two powers present, right? Because wisdom is talking. Okay, so yes, it's all on. So yes, that includes Jesus. Okay, cool. So I'm glad you then agree that Jesus is in fact in the Tanakh. Congratulations, you played yourself. Correct.
Guess where Jesus comes out of? As we're going to start seeing on Tuesday.
Yep. In fact, yeah, that's right. Our very next stream is it's Porque no los dos, my guy. Porque no los dos. Where does Jacob flee from Herod? He flees to Egypt. And then out of Egypt comes Jesus. Matthew literally uses that prophecy to say, by the way, this is Jesus.
Ah, dude, are you a no-face shower channel? Lame.
Oh,
Looking
I
at
am
his channel.
fully aware. But the typological reference that you're making, or you're making a point that I don't think you understand. This is a typological reference.
Yeah, I got it.
This is a typological reference. Also, my guy, you do not want to go to Hosea. that is a place you want to stay very far away from. I have studied deeply the matters of Hosea. In fact, I'm going to pull up my notes. Hang on.
Haha, oh my goodness. Do you see your hypocrisy? No, what I see is that you've lied 4 times now.
Hang on, I'm going to my notes on Hosea 11. Hang on. This document is really long. Holy crap, dude.
Just Control F and search.
No, I already found it. Calm down. Oh, I yapped here. Hang on. To honestly means to be read as a full pair. Fully comprehend what God is conveying here regarding the verses together. Reading the verses together, we can see that God is setting up the repetitive nature of Israel's sin being the reason that judgment has finally come. God has referred to the previous verses and chapters of the past sins of Israel, but he really brings it fully here in chapter 11 and carries it home with the two subsequent chapters. However, before we get all of that, we must first address something that I was struggling with extremely. Matthew, so I even admit here, this was probably over a year ago, that I was struggling with this. Why can't it refer to Jesus in the same sense? Why can't it refer to Isaiah in the immediate and Jesus in a typological context?
Or as an other point, if we want to refer back to Israel, if you want to say it's a remnant, why can't it also be typological for Jesus at the same time too? When Jesus fulfills those same things. Of which your own argument does not remove Jesus from the picture. You're just assuming it does, but you're not letting the logic actually play out. All you have to do is reverse the question back onto you.
But he doesn't. Isaiah doesn't bring back the rest of Israel. Also, that's how Israel brings back Israel. But Isaiah doesn't.
You're the one who used it. You're the one who brought it up.
No. We are not agreeing with your analysis here. We are simply saying
You're the one who brought it up.
with your analysis, it still does not work. It still does not work, even with your analysis. For the record, I do not agree with how you've
Also,
read the text here. Your hermeneutics are everywhere.
Also, again, use it as a proof text for Jesus. We didn't bring this verse up. You did. It's your proof text for something else.
Right. And I mean, if I'm being the most charitable I can, I guess. What? The ashes in your souls is evil, the death of. Okay. Sure.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, we got another one. Okay.
Okay.
Wait, light in your belly. Okay.
No. Isaiah 43 can't refer to Israel because Israel cannot gather Israel. But Hosea 11:1 can refer to sinful Israel. Again, typologically. Right? You have no problem using typology when it comes to Isaiah 49, which I would agree. There's typological messaging there. But you suddenly have a problem with typology when it comes to Hosea 11? It seems to me you just don't want to apply the same standard.
This is where they start to sound like atheists.
Yep. No, you didn't. You stated that it was. You did not show that it was. You just stated, oh yeah, it's Isaiah. You didn't actually show that it was Isaiah. We granted you that.
I granted you the possibility of
For the sake
a
of argument.
remnant.
You didn't actually show it. And I don't have a problem with typology in Hosea 11:1. Okay, so then you're fine with it being a Messianic prophecy.
We
do.
Yeah. I granted you remnant, but that it still points to a Messiah figure.
Right.
Which we would, Jesus. Again, backtracking. You've just lied. You've openly lied on a live stream. Caleb, one, because I know it's late and you have stuff to do, and
I gotta
two,
read that.
I'm done running in circles with this guy because
It's not
he's spoken
exclusively
like 5
messianic. We
times now.
never stated that it was. Typology makes it inclusive. Obviously, typology makes it inclusive.
Again, if you're gonna do polemics, you're gonna make an argument. Oh my gosh!
That was not your point. That was not your point. We even have the messages to prove it wasn't. I think Josh is scrolling up to find them.
We start with the very first one. Didn't lie. Please stop commenting and screw up my feed so I can go up and scroll.
No, it hasn't. Don't lie.
Here, let me see. Where'd it go? Very first one. If it says it says if the prophet claims to be another god, claims something was in the chapter that never existed. Didn't lie.
Not
First
really.
lie we pointed out to you.
Not really at all. Because the Christian position has never been that it's exclusively messianic. We never claimed that.
No.
If that's your understanding, that's on you. I'm
And
sorry if
this
you
channel,
misunderstood that.
this channel specifically devotes time to make sure we get the original audience perspective. And
Then I pity the people who watch your channel, dude. They are being horrifically misinformed. Sorry, that is wild, dude.
here, comment your favorite one for us to respond to in a week or two.
Yep.
Sorry, no. 2 weeks or 4 weeks, because next week is a polemic rather than apologetic. We never said it was exclusive. You just asserted that we said that.
Yep. You assumed that. We never said it.
I again told you that I'm granting you remnant.
All right, like if we go to Isaiah 53, which by the way is clearly messianic typologically. It has to be because Israel cannot bear sins. All of this is very clearly typological.
I'm just gonna point out that thanks for admitting. I mean, dude, you're just showing your disingenuousness because
We never said it wasn't typological.
you're
It has to
asserting
be.
words.
It has to be.
You're
Do you
asserting
not
that we
understand
claim-
what typology is? That's a genuine question. I'm not trying to be rude. Do you not actually? Can you explain to us what you believe typology is?
No, dude, stop quote mining.
No.
Answer the question.
No, he didn't. No, he did not. All right, you want to go to Ezekiel 4? Let's go to Ezekiel 4. My goodness, dude, we are just machine gun city here.
I got you.
I already have it.
Never mind.
Now, you son of man, take a brick, set it in front of you, and draw the city of Jerusalem. Here, I'll screen share.
Things be the last
Hold up.
passage we go through because you have stuff to do tonight.
Hang on. Israel's a servant in the immediate context. I just showed you that Isaiah is the servant in the immediate context.
That's a lie.
What is that? Allusions with dual meaning in addition to the plain meaning of the text. There's a little bit more to it than that, my guy.
That's not quite how typology works.
No, so because that would make like a metaphor typology. That would make all metaphors typology. That would make a double entendre typology.
Of which, what I will say is there are double prophecies, sometimes even triple, in the Old Testament.
Daniel's rather famous for that.
Oh, very much so.
Okay, so
Apocalyptic shirt.
this is the last thing we're going to answer because we have spent an inordinate amount of time on this and been lied to a lot.
We even get to more of the video. We got so off track.
But I feel like honestly, we kind of laid a good foundation with it.
Yeah, I'll provide one other comment on the video, and then we can
Okay.
within the
So
Tanakh.
last one. Now you, son of man, take a brick and set it in front of you, and draw the city of Jerusalem on it. Then lay siege against it. Construct a siege wall, build a ramp, pitch military camps, and place battering rams against it on all sides. Take an iron plate, set it up as an iron wall between yourself and the city. Turn your face toward it so that it is under siege, and besiege it. This will be a sign for the house of Israel. Then lie down on your left side and place the iniquity of the house of Israel on it. You will bear their iniquity for the number of days you lie on your side. Now, I imagine you're going to say that and go, see. Hang on a second. For I have assigned you the years of their iniquity, according to the numbers of days you lie down, 390 days. So you will bear the iniquity of the house of Israel. When you have completed these days, lie down again, but on your right side, and bear the iniquity of the house of Judah. I have assigned you 40 days, a day for each year. You must turn your face toward the siege of Jerusalem with your arm bared, and prophesy against it. Be aware that I will put cords on you, so you cannot turn from side to side until you have finished the days of your siege. See, what did I, dude? I literally just said it. I literally said he's gonna say, see.
Oh,
Hang on. The proof. Did that forgive Israel's sins? Correct. It cannot. Was Ezekiel bearing his own sins? Did Ezekiel bear his own sins? Did Ezekiel bear his own sins? And were the sins of Israel forgiven when they were placed on Ezekiel? If they were forgiven, then why was there a siege?
Also, they're still exiled.
Huh?
Also, they're still in exile.
They're still in exile when this is happening, right? Like they're still suffering the punishment of these iniquities. It says he bore the sin of others. That didn't answer my question, my dude. That's fascinating. It's fascinating you chose to not answer the questions there. Were Israel's sins forgiven? The Jews came back to Israel. Was that because of what Ezekiel did? Did that have their sins forgiven?
The proof.
Were the sins laid on Ezekiel forgiven? No. We have asked you multiple questions that you have not answered. We are not going to answer your question. Not yet. I mean, yes, the Jews did go back, but you do not have a right to answer a question there. Were the sins placed on Ezekiel forgiven? All right, you're just asking questions now. We're done. We're done. Did Ezekiel bear his own sins? No. Were the sins that were placed on Ezekiel forgiven? No.
LOL. What's wrong one?
No, why would they come back? Does that mean that those sins were forgiven? Because if those sins were forgiven, then why was there a siege? Why were they in exile?
All right. Anyways.
They just went back. Okay, so you're claiming since they went back that they were forgiven.
It's not how temples
It just talked about the siege. Ezekiel 4 is about the siege of Israel and Jerusalem and of Judea. Right.
How about this? Tell me in the comment section while we close out how we lost the argument. No more questions. Just state how we lost.
There you go. You lost the argument. Israel went back to rebuild the temple because the remnant was righteous. Only a remnant returned. That doesn't answer the question of were the sins forgiven. If they were, then there should have been no siege because God clearly makes it the punishment. That's not what I said. Dude, you were just strawmanning so hard right now.
Oh my goodness. You are doing fallacy after fallacy. You know, earlier, let me find it. He said that you can hear us say something in a recording like, oh, you can see the proof of it being in the text. And how it's all like, you know, we upload later. They will all see if they click on live chat where you're saying that we said things that we never said.
Oh my gosh, dude, you have missed the point entirely. Did Ezekiel bear his own sins? Answer that one question. That one question. Did he bear his own personal sins? When he laid on his side, was that him bearing his own sins? His own personal sins?
Also, it was only the sins for a certain amount of days.
Weird shot.
All
Not
they
really
mentioned
sure what
wood.
David
Oh,
Wood
he
has to
mentioned
do
wood
with us.
once, and that's a passing name.
Yeah, right. There's not an actual answer here.
No, he resorted to
Name calling.
insults.
Yeah.
So,
No. There was no quotes needed there. That
Oh.
was just an attempt to insult us.
That's fair.
So, hang on. You didn't answer the question. Isn't that funny? You didn't answer the question. Did Ezekiel bear his own personal sins?
Anyways,
You know the answer is no, because you cannot bear your own personal sins. Therefore, Israel cannot bear its own sins, as is listed in Isaiah 53.
anyways,
You cannot forgive your own sin. That's not how that works. Yeah, not contending that. Because it's typological of the Messiah. It's typological of Christ. You are dodging the question. His own personal sins. His own personal sins. Sins that Ezekiel himself committed. Did he bear them and therefore did not need to make a sacrifice for forgiveness? Correct, he took the consequences.
no one said
I
we
never
did.
said that I don't sin. If
Never
we say
said
we are
that.
without sin, we deceive ourselves.
That was John, who's also a Jew.
Just like Orthodox Jews who reject Jesus. Yeah, we know about that one, Chief. You're not saved from anything.
All right.
So there is no hell? Question mark?
Even the guy in the video we're reacting to says that Jews believe in hell.
All right.
He also says that Jews can't agree on anything. So that's the funny part.
He's not wrong about that. But, as a Protestant, I don't feel I can comment there.
No. But anyways.
All right. See, we're just dodging the question. We're just dodging the question. Yes, he was a part of Judah and Israel. And? You have not answered a single one of our questions. This is
And he's
ridiculous.
lied. And strawman. It's been great. Great. Anyways. I was gonna say something else. Tying back to the actual video.
We just tossed out another passage because we couldn't answer the question.
No.
We're done here. We're done here.
Anyways. So this will be it. This is what we're doing for the next month. Next week will be a polemic. The week after be an apologetic, then a polemic, then an apologetic.
No, Daniel 12 wasn't resurrected to eternal hell because he ascended to heaven. And then Stephen has a vision of him in heaven, and then he communicates with Paul by descending from heaven. Oy vey.
Anyways.
It is now 10 o'clock. I still have to read
Yes.
my Bible.
Yes. So
No,
we've not ignored the remnant. I actually granted you the
I
remnant.
know,
I
Josh
actually
has said that so many times.
I quote, I grant you remnant. I have stated that. You can go back and watch the later uploaded video that you're going to reference later or have referenced earlier. I have outright said, I grant you remnant, typologically also being Messianic regarding Christ.
So with all that said, folks,
All
we
that
really
said.
do appreciate you watching. This was probably an interesting stream to listen to. We hope that we at least opened your eyes to a few things. Certainly to things that came from the video. Certainly to
Anyways, the video is much longer. I'll put in the description later if you guys go check out. It's a pretty good interview. Sean asked pretty interesting questions, and he has some interesting responses regarding his beliefs. One thing that I
that
thought
just
was
completely ignores everything we said.
one thing I think is really interesting is that he even states that even that he doesn't believe that Jesus did rise, but even if he did rise, it is not sufficient enough evidence for him to believe that Jesus
That is
is
not what he said. That is not what Josh said. He grants you remnant where it refers to the servant in. There it is. There's the Dr. Michael Brown rage bait. There it is. Oh, I bet he gets your blood boiling. No, he granted you remnant for Isaiah 49. He does not grant you remnant that Israel bears its own sins. Can one bear their own sins? That's a question you still refuse to answer.
Anyways,
Their own personal sins.
so I thought it was interesting. This is on topic that he said that even if Jesus did rise, which he does not believe that Jesus did, that is not sufficient enough evidence for him to believe that Christianity is true, which I think is wild. First off, to really just kind of make that entire claim.
And it's funny because Jesus pretty much openly refutes that claim. They will not believe somebody even if they were to return from the dead.
Yeah. So you support an essay guy.
I'm not sure exactly to whom he's referring.
I don't think I've mentioned anyone other than like this wonderful
I will
scholar
say,
named Alan
so-
Siegel, who
I think I was gonna say I think honestly a better name would be Scam Shamoon, right? Like Scam Skamoon, kind of it's a little too on the nose, right? Like it's a little too repetitive. Just Scam Shamoon would be funnier. That said, that is a funny nickname. And no,
no, we don't support Sam Shamoon actually.
no.
But you know, it's a great book by a Jew. It's about how the Godhead is actually a really ancient Jewish idea,
Yeah.
which will be one of our
Zechariah
topics. That we'll do.
intensifies.
That'll be one of our polemics we'll do. I don't know if that'll be next week or the week or 2 weeks after that.
But we really hope you guys did find a lot of useful information. We hope that it was enlightening. We hope that you just have really got
Enjoyed.
some concrete information. We hope that you enjoyed. This was quite a latter half of the stream, but we really do hope that you at least found something useful out
Regarding
of
this
this.
whole conversation.
Yeah,
And,
thank you for burping.
While you're typing, I'll finish. We hope you guys found something of this of interest. Thank you guys for continuing to support us and join us for our streams. We thank you for your time. I know it takes 2 hours, 2 minutes is a long time. But we thank you guys for being here with us. We look forward, Lord willing, to see you guys. We have a video coming out tomorrow. Caleb's beginning our biblical context video series. And then, Lord willing, we'll see you guys in this setup next Tuesday.
Oh my goodness, dude. Led by Jesus' brother James Just. Prove that they were led by him. Which is
And
weird because they were late 1st, early 2nd century, which is after James had died. So it's a little weird that they were led by him.
And Lord willing, next Tuesday, we'll see you guys in our stream where we will be tracing Matthew and Exodus and the parallels to have there. As I mentioned at the very beginning, it'd be better, ultimately be better to do the entire Bible with the Exodus motif because there's all over the place. But just to make sure we can be at least a little on topic and stay consistent and not be here forever, we're going to do those 2 books with Jesus being the new Moses in Exodus. But we'll recommend some cool resources for you guys to check out. Thank you guys for joining us tonight. Lord willing, again, we'll see you guys next time. God bless.
We literally showed it on the stream that we looked it up.
We did look it up.
Hey.
God bless. And please let us know below if you have any other things you would like us to cover in the upcoming months. Caleb and I have some ideas that we're working on, but Caleb now needs to go do some Bible study and go to bed.
And
And
you need to like and subscribe to the channel. That's why
yeah,
I'm here.
yeah.
That's why I'm here.